Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, everybody. This is Joan Randall, and I am here with my co host, Leslie, and we are going to be talking today about books, business, and brunch. All things books, business, and brunch. And if you see the topic today, it is tapping into your spiritual gifts for writing. I'm excited to be here with you today. And as you come on in the room, I'm going to ask you to drop your name in the chat so that we can give you a proper hello and let you and say hi to you. And we want to know where you're calling from, where you're streaming from. It may be morning, it may be afternoon, it may be evening, it may be even the next day, right? We want to just say hello to you. So if you're seeing us for the first time, my name is Joan Randall. I'm an award-winning publisher and author. I'm the CEO of Victorious Youth Press and the creator of Books to Business and Beyond. And we do all things books and help people write their books so that they can build multiple streams of income and create legacy. And with that said, I'm going to turn it over to my co-host to introduce herself to you. Leslie, take it away.
Hey, hi everyone. Good afternoon. We're so excited to be talking about this subject today. As Joan said, I am Leslie Cottrell. I happen to be the COO at Victorious Youth Press, and I'm a book writing coach. It's a job that I absolutely love, and I can help take you through just your initial thoughts, your ideas about a book, all the way through publishing. So we're going to talk today about the subject of tapping into your spiritual gifts, which I'm so excited to get into a little bit deeper. So we're going to let Joan take that away, and I'll pop in from time to time.
Awesome. So, first of all, Leslie and I had a conversation about this topic, and we were talking about spiritual gifts, right? And she was right because not everybody knows what their spiritual gifts are or is, right? We all came to earth with something that's on the inside of us. And so, whether it's a spiritual gift or a learned gift or a skill or a talent or a, innate gift, we all bring something to the earth. And what we bring to the earth is for someone else. It usually is never just about us. It always is for someone else. But do you know what they are? But we want you to know that by writing, you can meet face to face with your gifts, right? There is something about writing that allows you to go back and look at patterns of what your thoughts are that you put on paper. Even dreams, right? If you get into the habit of starting to write your dreams, you will start to see patterns in your dreams that allow you to explore deeper into what the dreams might be holding for whether it's your present or your future. But as I always say, there is something about good afternoon, Jacob from Ghana. Thank you so much for joining us. We are happy to have you here. But as I was saying before, there's something about writing. There's a spiritual transformation that happens when you write. And that's why even in the Bible, in Habakkuk 2, and I think it's verse 3 that says, write the vision and make it plain on tablets for those who might see it can run with it. It's just literally saying when you have something in your heart, right, you need to let it be known so that others might hear it and use it as well and be able. And it's just like a snowball effect, right? If I say something that encourages you and you take it and you run with it and you encourage somebody else, it is encouragement all the way down, right? If it is an idea that I have and I want to see the idea manifested, I can't keep it in my head. Because if I keep it in my head, nobody else will know what that is. And they won't be able to even lend a helping hand to help you manifest those gifts, right? So writing is very spiritual in a sense. And so we want to talk about tapping into those spiritual gifts for writing and what does that look like? How do you tap into the gift of writing, right? To understand even yourself from a spiritual perspective, and your gifts. And so that's kind of the conversation today. I know it's a little different, but it's going to be a great conversation. So I'm going to turn it over to Leslie to talk about some of her ideas of or her thoughts on what it means to tap into your spiritual gifts for writing.
So I want to go take it back to the very foundation, which is always a very good place to start. And trying to determine what your gifts are. Don't feel self-conscious if that's what you're thinking right now. I don't think it's unusual to not understand your spiritual gifts because they are things that are innate. They are in you. They've always been in you. And don't we always take those things for granted? If somebody says to you, "Oh, did you make that cake? That was so amazing. I've never had anything like that." Your first thought is probably, "That was so easy.
Yeah.
I'd made that cake 50 times," because it's usual to you. You don't understand how magnificent it may be. So one thing I would want to say is please not to do, which is don't outsource trying to determine what your spiritual gifts are. If you spend any time online, you know there's a quiz for everything.
Right.
What kind of cooking archetype are you? What personality mother are you? There is a quiz for every single question you can think of. It might be fun, it might be distracting to go take a quiz, but if you really think about it, as someone who's living an intentional life, what power are you putting into the hands of somebody else by taking a quiz to determine what you are about anything? Who designed that quiz? A human being with their own slant on things. 9 times out of 10, those quizzes are designed to get you to do something, to get you to buy something, to get you to believe something. Well, that is not of you. So don't outsource trying to determine who you are on any level. But today, as we talk about spiritual gifts, allow yourself that beautiful gift of going inward to determine those things. And we were talking earlier about ways to do that, opportunities, different channels to tap into to really understand who you are at your core, at your basis. And writing is such a beautiful way to do that. You may not be the type of person who enjoys sitting down and writing Dear Diary every day. Most people aren't. But you can be creative about this like everything else in life. There are so many ways to journal. We were talking earlier about devotional journaling. I think another great way to begin to journal is to come home. I have a friend who I was talking to that does this on Sunday afternoon after she comes home from church. She writes down and opens up whatever scripture they were talking about on Sunday. And then she writes down kind of the highlights that she remembered from what was talked about during the sermon. And then she journals it. So it allows her to go deeper about what you may quickly have forgotten about in the sermon. Sermon might only be 15 minutes or maybe it's 45 minutes, but a whole lot of information comes to you all at once. You're never going to remember all of it. But if you start to commit it to paper in this creative way, you start to bring those words, those wisdoms into your life in a practical way. I've started prayer journaling. I love doing this. I am an active member of the prayer group at my church. And so there are prayer requests coming in all the time. You'll never remember all of them as you sit down to pray. You've got to write them down. And then you can follow up on them and find out what happens to those prayers down the road. What happened to that young girl who suffered a seizure and had to go to the hospital? And then taking beyond that, journaling for yourself. What comes to mind as you're making those prayers? What downloads do you get while you're praying? And create a prayer journal that's just about that. Reading faith-based journals that have been published is a wonderful way to understand yourself even more because you will resonate with some parts and you won't resonate with other parts. But the self-expression allows you to begin this baseline of knowledge about yourself, about your strengths, and then you'll see these things begin to repeat themselves. They come up over and over again, and you'll understand, maybe this is one of my spiritual gifts. Maybe this is something that I can share with the world in a way that no one else can share exactly the way I can. What are your thoughts, Joan?
I totally agree with that. And I love that, first of all, if you're doing a prayer journal and the goal is to pray for others, you have to exercise writing, right? Because you want to be able to call the name of the person that you're praying for. And if you know whatever it is that's the ailment or the infirmity, you can pray for that thing specifically, right? To hit that, the need for that prayer. So I love that. And I want to just continue on the topic of journal. You talk about the prayer journal, but there's also daily devotional journal. There's like a daily devotional writing. There's some people that will set aside time to just write. If they wake up in the morning and they get ready to just meditate, or they get ready to say a prayer, they'll just write their thoughts. Some people like journals that are affirmation, right? They like to write affirmations down. Some people use a gratitude journal because they want to thank God for life and for the things that they have. And sometimes when you use those writings, right, when you can sit and you can write something in a journal about being grateful, you find that as you go through tough days or tough times and you go back to that gratitude journal, you find that you can resurface the things that you're grateful for. And if you're in a space that is a little bit dark, you can say, you know what, God, I remember that I wrote that I was grateful for A, B, C, and D. You know what? Today, I'm still grateful for those things. And although my day is not going the way it is going, I am just grateful that I wrote it. So I have a record of when I was feeling really good, and I can just take myself back there because my writing is there. And that's the power of writing, because it holds a space in time that cannot be erased. And that's the thing about writing. Some people have a dream journal where they write their dreams in, right? And I was sharing with Leslie earlier that I started keeping a dream journal since May because I noticed patterns of certain dreams that I was dreaming. And I wasn't remembering them like the next day. So I decided that I was going to keep a prayer journal. And so when I wake up and I write my dream, there's a certain prayer I say, right, in order to just accept the dream or debunk the dream, or to say, you know what, I am not accepting that dream, right? But at least it allows me to see certain patterns of dream, because it was the same thing over and over and over and over again. And I soon kind of got the revelation of what that meant. So, that's another way of tapping into your spiritual gifts for writing. There's a couple others that I want to share with you that can help as well. And one of those things is joining a faith-based writers group. So if you are a woman of faith, or even if you're a person that writes fiction, say it's not about faith, say it's a fiction thing, right? That is still a gift from God. People who write fiction are creative beings, right? They can make up stuff that they have never seen, but they have this creative mind. That is still a gift, right? So they could join a writers group. They could join a fiction writers group. They can join a children's writers group. They can join a poetry writing group. They can join a, songwriters group, right? And just help to hone their skills. But at the end of the day, you're putting something on paper that is meaningful, that might become your legacy later down the road. So those things are really key in tapping into writing. And then you never know, one day you may just want to write a book. You may just want to write a book. You may just want to write a book of all poetry, all the poetry that you have written. You may want to write a meditation, a book of meditations, because you have written so many meditations as you are writing. You may want to write a book of gratitude, right? And you have all these things that you have been writing over the years. And this reminds me too, Leslie, is about 2 years ago or so, there is this older lady that's part of her church. She's our international prayer. And I remember being on a prayer call with her one day, and she said to me, I have been writing prayers for years. She said, I have books upon top of books of prayers that I've written for years, some all the way back to 1996. And I said to her, have you ever thought about publishing it? And she says, no, Elder Randall, no, ma'am. Never thought about publishing. That is the furthest thing from my mind. And I said to her, intercessor, but you know that your prayers can bless someone else, because there's a lot of people that go through storms in life that don't know what to pray or how to pray their way out of the storms. So you providing a book that you have pre-written prayers, that person might be able to go through your book, and there's a prayer in the book that is exactly what she needs in the moment to get her through those storms. And it's your prayer that you wrote in 1996 and 1980 or 19 whatever, that is going to help this person in their current pain. And she goes, I never thought about that. And we ended up, the church came together, all different people in the church came together and invested in her putting her book of prayer together, and Victorious U Press published the book. And so now this lady is way in her 70s, and for the first time became an author, but also a best-selling author. Now, here's the thing. That would have never happened had she not decided that every time she prayed to God, she was going to write the prayers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And it never would have happened if she hadn't saved what she wrote. And when you started on that little thing went off in my head. Don't ever throw your writing away. Keep what you write. You may think that has no bearing on anything today, and maybe it doesn't today, but in 5 years, 10 years, it may be just the thing that you need. So always keep your writing. I did a terrible thing many years ago, and I had many different kinds of writing. Like I had a journal that was just for free form writing. I would set the timer, and whatever came to my mind, I would write down. I had a gratitude journal. I had a number of different journals. Mm-hmm. And I was dating this guy who went into my house when I wasn't there. For whatever reason, he decided to take out my journals and start reading them. Well, let's just say it was a rather volatile relationship. And there was some stuff in there about him, because it was a great way for me to just vent, right? It's how I survived that relationship so long. Loved him dearly, but anyway. And he took great offense, right? I mean, we had a powwow about that. And I got so upset and self-conscious in one of those Leslie moments. I destroyed everything.
no way.
There was some really good stuff in there, and now it's gone, like never to be seen again. So learn from my errors. Don't throw anything away that you write. Don't hit the delete button. Don't say, oh, I've got too much room on my computer. Your text doesn't take up hardly any room on the computer. It's the videos and the pictures that take up space. Save what you write. Don't throw it away.
Yeah. Don't throw it away. You are absolutely right about that. And I want to just add 2 more points to this conversation about tapping into your spiritual gifts for writing. And thank you for sharing that, Leslie. I can't imagine him going into your private written journal and then getting mad. The nerve of getting mad.
Right. Oh. And then me coming on and talking about it. Woo.
Another thing too that can help you, hey, Miss Gloria, nice to see you. Another thing that can help you also is Study and reflect on inspirational writings. And Gloria is on. Gloria is amazing. She has this way of words with sharing about the daughter and her father, meaning Jesus Christ. And she released a book, I think it's earlier this year, or the end of last year, about journey with the Father. And it's really about, it's very poetic. Some of it is poetry like, some of it is just prayer, some of it is songs. It's all just conversations with the Father, and it's beautiful. And again, that's those, and some of those things, Gloria wrote them years ago. And the only reason why I know, some of them were copied and pasted, and you could see the date. And I'm like, listen, we got to get rid of the dates. But it just goes to show that she was keeping an account of all of those writings. She had them someplace. And so when it was time for her to go and write the book, it was already there. Right. And we also talked about my book that I wrote, my memoir. It was because I kept a journal. Most of the things that I put in the book was what I took from my personal journal. And I know in my heart, if I wasn't keeping a journal all those years when I was going through my domestic violence situation, I would not remember half of what I wrote, because there were pages in that book where I'm like, this is not me. This did not happen to me. Like, I kid you not, I'm saying this didn't happen to me, because, and if it wasn't in that book, I would have not remembered it. There are things that one of my sister who lives in Jamaica, there's things that she told me that I still don't even believe, because I don't remember. I don't remember those things, right? It didn't get in the diary. It didn't get in the journal. So it never made it to the book. But she was like, I'm like, really? She said, yes, I remember, But again, it goes back to just writing, keeping a record. And you know what I always say? You don't have to know. You don't have to be a scholar. You don't have to be an English major. You can just write in your own dialect. You can write in your own thoughts. You can write with your own flair. You can write with your own, your own expressions, right? But just write it, because you never know what will happen to you, right? We see the book that was a journal for so many years, Bags in the Attic, is a best-selling, award-winning book. Why? Because I decided to take what was in a journal, put it in a book, and send it out to the world. So when we talk about tapping into your spiritual gifts for writing, your spiritual gifts are the innate things that are in you. And here's another thing, writing may help you to recognize those gifts, right, Leslie? You writing may help you to recognize, because you start to see patterns and you start to realize, oh, this flow, this was easy for me. Oh my God, And so you may be able to recognize your spiritual giftings just from writing it down. And that's why I say writing is there's a spiritual transformation that happens when you write.
There is. Yes, absolutely. And good writing doesn't usually come naturally. Sometimes it does. Some people have it as an innate gift, and they write beautifully, vibrantly, without a whole lot of study and instruction. But as a rule, it's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. The more you write, your vocabulary changes, your ability to kind of dive down below the surface and see the backside of things, and not just the surface relating of, I got up, I went to the store, I bought this, and this, I drove home. There's so many other things that happened along the way that you could share that would bring that little story alive. The more you write, the more you find yourself naturally doing that. So when the time comes for you to actually write a book that you want to publish, you already have developed this wonderful foundation of good writing.
Yeah. And hey, Tanisha just said, I've been writing my book. I do
Great.
have a few journal entries included. I did read your book, Joan, and it is an amazing story. God bless you. Thank you so much. I love you, beautiful lady, and thank you for jumping on and sharing that with us today. Yeah, I love that you have journal entries in it. I love that you are keeping a record. It's not that you're keeping a record for anybody else but yourself, but in those words, in those thoughts on paper, in those reflections on paper, something happens and you start to see a pattern. Trust me when I tell you. Um, Businesses are born from people writing stuff on scraps of paper, right? Restaurants are opened because a grandmother took index cards and write the recipes of her favorite pies or cakes or food. And later on down the road, the grandchildren find those index cards and open a restaurant using their grandmother's writing. That is the power of the pen. That is the power of putting something on paper. It may never see the light of day while you are alive, but it may see the light of day because your children or grandchildren decide to do something with it. That's legacy, right? And it's a legacy that cannot be taken away. Your writing, when you write, when you get it published, or when you put it in a book or in a journal, nobody take that from you. It's like getting your own degree. That's what your writing is. When you write, you it's like owning your own degree. A school gave it to you, but your writing, God gave it to you, right? The King of Kings gave that to you. It trumps what a school gave to you.
That's for
It
sure.
trumps that. All right, so we're getting ready to wrap up, but before I do, Leslie, do you have anything else that you want to just share on this topic before we wrap up?
Well, it's related to the topic because we're talking about, you just talked about legacy, and I don't want us to leave today without talking about the second wind
Oh,
for a
yay!
minute.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Um, so Joan and I are putting together this collaboration with other authors, many of them first-time authors, to talk about the transformation that can come through what we perceive as hardship. Maybe an illness, maybe you lost your job or you were furloughed from your job and then they said, no, there's no place for you anymore. You had to create a new career. Maybe you survived a tough accident or a divorce, the loss of someone so close to you, and you had an opportunity to either lose yourself in it or rebuild your life. And it's those stories of rebuilding your life and
Mm,
giving someone else the opportunity to learn from your experiences, to be inspired by how you put that new business together when everybody thought you were just going to fade off into the sunset. It's not age based, it's experience based. It's leaning into what life gives us and taking the challenge of creating something great from it. And those stories are what is going to be in the second wind. Joan, I'll let you finish that out.
So, I don't know if you watched my Jesus Jonan journal this morning. If you have not watched it, go to my page, Joan Thaxter Randall, and I want you to watch Jesus Jonan journal. I brought my girl Angie on with me. And I want you to join me every morning at 8 a.m. because we're doing this whole series for the month of July. We're going to talk a lot about gifts. We're going to talk about the promise of gifts, the promise of your purpose. We are going to talk about the purpose that is inside of you, right? When things happen in your life, sometimes they look like they're devastating. Sometimes they're hardships, they're hurdle, they're pain, there's loss, there's devastation. But that very thing can be your gift. That very thing could be the gift that you are carrying, right? And when you're carrying a gift, when God take you through the storm and you come out on the other side, that gift that you carry with you no longer belongs to you. It belongs to somebody else that's waiting on you to help them with that gift. I went to a church service with my sister yesterday, and the pastor said something so profound that I had to write it down. He says, live a life that glorifies God and impact as many people's lives as you possibly can. And because I write everything, I caught that. I wrote it, right? I wrote it because I'm going to use it again somewhere, right? Live a life that glorifies God and impact as many people's lives as you possibly can. And again, that is the power of writing. And so with the second wind, we are bringing women together who have experienced hardship, devastation, loss, and just a renewal, a rebirth, a rejuvenation. And all of a sudden they're like, you know what? I came through the worst storm, but now I feel the power because I've had some lived experiences. I've had some learned experiences. And because of this experience, I'm owning my power to be as fierce and as feminine and as powerful as any other time in my life. So if you are interested in joining the Second Wind Project, we're doing another follow-up interest meeting on Wednesday at 6 p.m. So Gloria, I know you missed the last one, so join. Tanasha, it would be nice to have you on. Jacob said, I have to start my journal soon. Yeah, you should start writing. But most definitely join the interest call on this Wednesday at 6 p.m. and hear what it's all about. And if you go back to this broadcast and just click on more, you will see that it says the Second Wind interest call, and there is a link in that. So you can click on that and you can register, and we'll be doing another interest call on this Wednesday. But you get to partner with Leslie and I to tell our stories of the second wind, how you were blown away to smithereens. And then for some reason, there was still a little bit of light in you. And God added a spark to that light. And now you are flaming, baby. And you're doing amazing things. Yes. Oh, yeah, Tanasha. Right. So we're having it again on a Wednesday at 6 p.m. But I'm excited to do this with women who have just experienced some setbacks and lived to tell about it and is now doing amazing things. So that's all I have. That's all we have. Leslie, thank you so much for reminding me about the second wind. And it goes back to this. You're not an island. You're never alone. You always should find yourself into a community of like-minded people that can help you go to the next step. If Leslie wasn't on this call with me today, I would have forgotten to talk about the second wind. But see, Leslie was able to remind me. That's the power of community. That's the power of people. That is the power of being in a space where people believe as you believe and that you're going someplace together. This is called kingdom building, man. This is called kingdom building. Jesus used to send them out 2 by 2 and never sent them alone. They never went anywhere by themselves. 2 by 2, right? So it's always great to have partners and community that can help to take you to the next level. That's all we have for today. Thank you for joining us on Books, Business, and Brunch. We will see you next Monday, same time, same place. And remember, the pen creates an indelible moment in time that can never be erased. So keep writing. God bless you until we see you again next week, Monday. Take care, guys. Bye.